Thank you for joining us tonight. My name is Barry Erickson, and I'm Community Engagement Coordinator at Wheaton Public Library. Tonight, we are delighted to bring you biking adventures. More individuals and families are biking than ever, capitalizing on the freedom, exercise, and enjoyment biking offers. The Wheaton Bicycle Advisory Commission works with the City of Wheaton, and its members are volunteers approved by the city. Representatives from the commission are here tonight to provide tips for bike safety and maintenance. They will also share some of their favorite rides around town. With so much expertise and great information to provide for us tonight, I'm anxious to turn the screen over to our first panelist, co-chair of the commission, Michelle Dunlap.
Hello, good evening. I want to share with you all a little bit about our commission. Our mission, oh, hold on, sorry. There we go. So you guys can actually see what I was talking about. There we go. Our mission is to make biking in Wheaton safe, convenient, and fun by communicating a bike-friendly vision for Wheaton and achieving it through collaboration with residents, schools, and government. Each year, our commission participates or leads annual events to promote biking as a safe transportation alternative and as a healthy form of recreation and fitness. Even though we all saw a number of bicyclists in the city increase dramatically during the pandemic, unfortunately, we were not able to host our annual events. Our previous annual events have included, let me click here. Wrong way, sorry. All these, I'll now go in order. The Bike Valet at the Taste of Wheaton, Bike Fest, which includes a rodeo for the police teaching bike safety and also bike checks, and then fun kid stuff. Live history bike rides. Previous ones have included World War I and World War II, and most recently we've done an Underground Railroad, and we had a local author come and speak to us during that ride. So those are some past events we did. During the pandemic, we did for the first time create a virtual history ride. We based this virtual history ride recording on our past Underground Railroad ride. We had help from the City of Wheaton, and this is posted both on our website and on the City of Wheaton's website, and we'll be sharing that link with all of you. But this was so people could get out and do something on their own when we were all kind of quarantined. Dozens of riders have accessed this link so far on the city website, and we hope maybe after this ride or after this presentation, you guys can check it out too. It's got a bunch of useful information, and we hope to do this with future history rides. So we usually have history rides once a year. And so we want to take all our history rides and put them in this format so they're accessible to other people afterwards. And that is our plan for our next history ride, which is coming up September 25th. And that's also listed on our website, which we'll again share with you guys. Some other things we did during the pandemic was we worked with the city to add a line. That's the line and Sharrows. This is called the Sharrow. It's an arrow telling you to share. That's why it's called the Sharrow, in case someone aren't familiar with that. These were added to Brighton Road. And then we also work with the city to update some bike signs. For now, for 2021, we're very excited to get back out into the community. We have worked with the local schools to promote student participation, as we do every year, in Bike to School Day, and that was May 5th this past year. We've also begun discussion with a few of the schools to create safe routes to school. We are happy to be starting our group rides again. We start all those rides from the Wheaton Public Library. And then we've updated our Wheaton bike map. That bike map now includes a QR code. That QR code allows riders to scan that map, and that way they can access it from their phone and you don't have to carry a paper copy with you. We're also in discussion with the city about improving bike crossings. And then we are also at the French Market. Some of you might have met us at our booth. We are at the French Market handing out maps and also sharing information about the improvements coming along Liberty Street. Those improvements, and I'm going to show you guys those in a little bit, are going to include a bike shelter and a repair station. We are all part of this commission because we love biking. I'm hoping that is part of the reason you all joined us tonight. We'll all be available at the end of this to answer your questions, as Barry had already said. But you can also always email us, and that email address for our commission is, excuse me, bikewheaton@gmail.com. So I did say I was going to share with you all what the Liberty Street upgrades were going to look like, and that is, so this is Liberty Street, and this is Main Street, and this is the Prairie Path coming by here. This side over here is going to be a French Market with some bike racks and a little area up at top. And then there's a few more slides, kind of, they're duplicates and they show different views. This is the northwest corner. So again, this is Liberty Street, and back here is Main Street, some bike racks, and further down here, there's a bike shelter. If we scroll more, this is looking from the bike shelter. Again, looking towards Main Street, northwest corner. You see another view of that. This is, you can see a little more closer at what the bike shelters looks like. It's going to have an awning, and then it's also going to have a repair station and water. So that is going to be really nice. This is the northeast side. Again, this is the French Market side. There's a little plaza, and then this is going to be covered where the French Market will be able to be held. It'll be a covered area. This ramp right here is coming down off the Prairie Path. This is another view of that plaza. Again, this is Liberty, this is Main. This is a little plaza in front of the French Market. This is a side view, getting the same idea, ramp, plaza, French Market over here. I believe this is the top view. Again, there's a little area for seating up off the Prairie Path. And then right here, you can't totally see, but there's the ramp that would be going down. And then this is just an aerial view of that for the French Market. So I'm going to stop that share 1 second, because what I want to pull up for you last is a couple years ago with our commission, we worked with the city and some students from Wheaton College, and we created a safety video. We've shared this safety video with schools in the area, and some of them have used it during their during different assemblies, or during, some of them have health fairs. So it's been used throughout the city, but it's available on our website. So I'm going to stop this share, and just so I can pull up a different share to show that to you. So hold on 1 second. And I will pull that up. And this is the video. Make sure everyone can see it.
I like biking to be with friends. It's a lot of fun.
I like biking because it's a lot faster than walking. I like biking to school. It's really fun.
I like biking because it's healthy, fun, and very good for your body.
I like biking because it keeps me young.
There are lots of reasons why people enjoy biking. But before you even think about biking, there are a few important things you need to know that may seem obvious, but could save your life, the lives of those around you, and prevent accidents. But don't worry, we'll break it down in a few easy steps for you.
Obviously, you're going to need the right equipment. First, you'll need a safe bike helmet. You've probably heard that wearing a helmet is important, but do you know exactly why? Look at how this helmet would protect your head if you fell or were in an accident. And take a look at what would happen without it. Whoa, imagine if that was your head. Wearing a helmet can protect you from head and spinal injuries. Now do you understand why wearing a helmet is important?
When buying a bike helmet, make sure you see the sticker inside with the CPSC safety label. This means it meets U.S. standards for bike helmets for people ages 5 and older. The helmet should be snug on your head and sit flat. The strap should form a V under your ear, and the chin strap should also be snug. Make sure you can fit 2 fingers between your eyebrow and the helmet. This ensures that the helmet is in the right place and is a good fit.
An even better way to be seen is with a bicycle headlight and tail light. Even light-colored clothing isn't enough to make you visible to drivers.
Look to make sure nothing you're wearing or carrying could get caught in the bike chain, like loose-fitting pants, backpack straps, or even shoelaces. Your shoes matter too. Gym shoes are the best shoes to use when biking. Sandals, flip-flops, shoes with higher heels, and cleats can be dangerous because they can't grip the bike pedals.
You also want to make sure that your bike fits you properly. There are a few things involved, so Doug can show us how the bike should fit.
One of the main important fitting processes is making sure that you don't buy a bicycle that's way too big. The bar to the floor distance cannot be changed on a bicycle. So the main thing that you want to be able to do is stand over that with a moderate amount of clearance. And how we do that is you want to be able to stand over the frame, both feet flat to the floor, and you want to be able to raise the front wheel approximately 3 inches off of the ground. What that does is that gives you enough clearance if you should have to come off of the seat that you can hit the ground and do that in a safe manner. The other issue that we have is the seat to the pedal stroke, and that, if we get too short or too long, makes for a very uncomfortable bike ride. As we sit on the bike seat, we should be tippy-toes to the floor. That will give us a slight bend in the leg, usually that way. If we're too close to the floor, where we're actually flat-footed, when we're riding, the knee has more than a slight bend. And what that causes is when we're on the upswing, it causes the angle of the leg to be higher or equal to the hip, and we don't want that to happen. That will make a very uncomfortable bike ride. The other issue that we're dealing with is the reach to the handlebar. And with this seat at the lower point, which is improper, I don't have much of a lean to the handlebar, which doesn't give me the control I need to move the front wheel. So with the seat at proper height, we're going to have a slight bend in the leg joint. We're going to have a slight lean to the handlebar now, which gives me better control of the bike. Those are the 3 most important things: standover height, seat to pedal stroke, and length and lean to the bike.
Thanks, Doug. Well, now that we have the right equipment, let's move on to the next step: how to ride safely.
For kids 10 and younger, the safest place to ride is on the sidewalk. Older kids and adults can ride in the street, on the right side of the road, the same way that traffic is heading. This is where drivers expect to see you. If you're riding with friends, always ride single file. Know that a bike is just another vehicle on the road, so you have to follow the rules of the road too.
Intersections are dangerous, even those with stoplights, stop signs, and crosswalks. Before you come to an intersection, stop, look left, look right, and then look left again to check for traffic. You will want to make eye contact with drivers at an intersection too. This sends the message that you both know that you can see each other.
Cars have turn signals and brake lights that help tell other vehicles where they plan to go. As a bicyclist, it's your job to use hand signals to tell everyone around you the same thing. When making a right, hold your arm up, like this. When making a left, hold your arm straight out, like this. And to stop, hold your hand down, like this. Unless you're using one hand to signal, it's important to keep both hands on the handlebars. This way, you'll be better prepared to stop in case of an emergency. Wheaton has some awesome places to ride, like here on the Prairie Path. If you're riding on the Prairie Path, make sure to stay on the right side of the path and always let others know when you're about to pass them.
On your left.
Whenever you're approaching railroad tracks, get off your bike, look both ways, and walk your bike across the tracks.
If you're riding your bike to school, check which roads are on your school's designated bike route, if there is one. This means that they are the safest roads for you to ride on. Practice your route a few times so you know how long it will take you to get to school and avoid being late.
Once you get to school, safely walk your bike to the bike rack. Schools can be a very busy and crowded place with cars and buses coming and going. You want to make sure drivers can see you. And finally, know how to properly lock your bike to keep it secure, whether it's at school, a park, or anywhere. Let's review the tips and techniques for safe biking in Wheaton.
Before riding, you need a properly fitted helmet, clothing and shoes that are safe for biking, reflective stickers and lights to be sure you'll be seen by drivers if you're riding at night.
Make sure your bike is the proper height and that everything is secure.
Always ride on the right side of the street, single file when riding in groups, and obey all the rules of the road.
Use hand signals to help let drivers know where you're going, and be especially careful at intersections. Look left, right, then left again.
Be an alert rider. No headphones, and look out for possible hazards in the road.
Walk your bike across the train tracks and ride on the right side of the prairie path, making sure to alert people when you're passing by. And one last thing, have fun!
Okay, so that was our safety video that, like I said, we had shared with the community, is on our website, and we share with schools. And then speaking about our web page, Laurel is I'm going to introduce Laurel. She's next. She's going to share with you some of the things that are available on our web page, bike maps, bike routes, and also our group rides that we have that, again, we said we're happy about doing. So I am going to mute myself and let Laurel take over.
All right. Hello, everybody. So I'll just kind of give you a quick overview. I thought it'd be easier if I just did it with PDFs here, but you know, you all know what a map is. I just wanted to give you a quick gist that the purple routes are the ones that are like the recommended streets, so that when you look at the map, what you can do is you can use it to, let's see, just a sec. Let me reduce this. There we go. So that you can kind of see that we have the purple routes. Those are the recommended. So what I did, and these are going to be on the website shortly, I made some routes to show people how they could get to downtown from the four corners of Wheaton, from the northwest, northeast, and whatnot. So let me just demo one. Now I did this with Ride with GPS, and the PDF files will be on our website. They're not there yet, but we also have the link to our Google Drive with them. So the reason I did them this way is not everybody has Ride with GPS, but we're also going to list the GPX files so that you can download it to your phone, and it'll give you turn-by-turn directions. But anyway, so what I did was, starting from 4 different schools and different sections, I figured if I picked a school and it shows you about a 2-mile route, but what's convenient is you could print this and you can actually have the routes on your phone. So again, so northwest, northeast, or southeast, I started from the Briar Clyn School and I went to the basically Mariano's, but I put it to the central school there. So how to get down to the grocery store. Another one that we'll have on there is starting from the Wheaton North High School, getting down to Memorial Park. And again, I'm just kind of giving you a gist here. We'll give the links for these later. This is just so that you know that they exist. And then the final one I did was starting from the, I forgot the name of the school. I think it's called Madison. Let's see. I should know, it's right by my house, but I'll just bring it down. Yep, Madison. So starting at Madison and going to the French Market. So those will be examples there. Now, these are just rides that are meant to, they're one way, they're to give you an idea of how to get down into downtown without having to necessarily drive. So meant to be maybe more errands. You go to the library. If you're only picking up some small stuff at the grocery store, you can take your bike instead of driving. We also have the group rides, and these are the remaining group rides for the season. So for instance, we start at the library, and these are, I'll show you on the website after this. We have a couple more group rides plus the Wheaton History ride. So like for instance, I'm doing the next two, doing a South Side neighborhood ramble. I'm showing some cuts throughs, some routes you can get to if you decide you want to go to the Arboretum, just ways that you can get around the South Side with some sneaks. I'm doing the Four Corners of Wheaton ride. This one's an evening ride. And the Wheaton History Ride that Michelle mentioned is Saturday, September 25th. Again, we're going to be sending out emails about this with much more detail. We also have a rain date. And then the last ride, we will have a ride leader by then, and we're going to St. James Farm. All right, so let me stop the share. And let me show you the website so that you can kind of see where you can pick these up. All right, so again, we're going to send the link out so that you can find our website. Truthfully, I just Google Wheaton Bicycle Commission and it shows up for me, but we'll also send the link out. So the beginning part, it has, the commission has our purpose that Michelle talked about, but this is what I wanted to highlight. We have our ride calendar, so we'll have the current ride calendar up there, and we also have the bike waiver form. The city requires everybody to sign a waiver form in order to ride with us. But I do want to highlight that over on this side, we have the bike route map online here. So you can easily click on it there. We have our bicycle plan, that's from 2011, and we still do use this. We're looking to update this potentially in the near future. And we also have the video that Michelle showed. There's the link there. And we're planning to list down here. Oh, there's the virtual history ride too. There we go. We also are going to list the bike routes to downtown, which will be showing up on the website shortly. All right. I have one more little video to show. I'm a League of American Bicyclists instructor, and so one of the things that the League of American Bicyclists does is they have a little, very short 1-minute bicycle check. Let me make sure I share sound while I'm doing this. I'm talking to you guys. There we go. That explains what to check on your bike every time before you ride. So I just want to, this is literally a 1-minute video from the League of American Bicyclists, and I literally do this before each ride. And when I haven't, sure enough, I have a flat or something like that can happen. So let me start it up in full screen and play. 1 minute.
There's an easy way to make sure your bike is in good working order. The basic bike check. To check the air, push on the tires to see that they are properly inflated. They should feel hard to the touch. If they give, they need to be refilled. When pumping up your tires, the air pressure should match the number written on the tire. While you are inflating your tires, check them over for bald spots, damage, or loose threads. If you see any of these, it's time to get a new tire. For brakes, there are 2 things to check. First, look at the brake pads and ensure they are not worn out. When they have worn thin, they need to be replaced. Next, squeeze your brake levers firmly. There should be a thumb's width gap between the lever and the handlebars. If this gap is too small, the brakes need to be adjusted. You want your chain and gears to be running smoothly. Turn the pedals backward to test the movement and ensure that it's clean and not squeaky. Periodically, check that the cranks are not loose. If they are, tighten the bolt. If your bike has quick release wheels or a seat post, check and make sure they are firmly closed. Before heading out, take a brief slow ride to check that your bike is working properly. If something does not look or feel right, be sure to have your bike looked at by a mechanic. The League of American Bicyclists.
Okay, so let me stop the share here. All right, so that was just a good 1 minute ABC quick check. Nice way to remember it. Air, brakes, crank, and then you do a quick ride. All right, let me pass this over to Bob, who will share with us some of the favorite rides around Wheaton.
All right. Well, thank you, Laurel, and good evening, Wheaton. I'm going to start sharing here so you can see there slides that I want to explain to you. So let's see, make sure everybody's seeing things. Yeah, this looks good. So you might not appreciate this, even if you've lived in Wheaton a long time, but Wheaton really is a biking center. Wheaton is the location of North America's first successful rails-to-trails conversion. And in fact, this is what the corner of Main Street and Liberty looked like around 1957. It was a train station there, but that's not the Union Pacific train station. Union Pacific rails are over here behind this fence. This was what was called the Chicago, Aurora, and Elgin Railroad, and it came through Wheaton, and it became the Prairie Path. And right around this time of this picture was taken, 1957, they went out of business, essentially, and left the tracks behind. And in 1963, the Prairie Path was founded, to the Illinois Prairie Path, to convert those tracks into the trails, which are now the Prairie Path. And in fact, you can see this in the logo. These 3 spikes, I pedaled past these for years before I realized it had been a railroad. And it's separated by the bike wheels and pedestrian walking, and perhaps you'll see a horse on there. Wheaton has many miles of trails and also 2 bike shops, Midwest Cyclery, where Doug and Tom work, and Spokes around Denata. And I wanted to show you a few things about getting around Wheaton using technology. That first of all, the map, which others have highlighted, so I won't dwell on that, but you can find that on our website with the QR code. But if you want some help in planning how to get somewhere on your bike, this is an ordinary Google map that sort of assumes you're going by car and shows the streets of Wheaton primarily. But if you just do a couple of clicks, you see these green lines show up. This is the green line of the Prairie Path all the way into Maywood. This is the green line here of the Prairie Path up to Elgin. And this is the green line of the Prairie Path out to Aurora. And you also see like the paths through Wheaton, through Atten Park, and you see like over around College DuPage, and south here. There's all kinds of nice things that show up on Google if you click down here in the lower left-hand corner. You have to click on this thing that says more, and then you have to click on biking. And once you do that, you bring on the green lines that I showed you for biking around Wheaton. And even more on Wheaton, I was kind of surprised in researching this talk to learn that Google Street View works on the trails. So this is the Illinois Prairie Path going through the north side of Wheaton here. So downtown Wheaton is off the screen to the lower right here. And this is Lincoln Marsh. And these green lines, of course, show where you can see Street View on streets. But notice that the green lines go all the way over into the trails of Lincoln Marsh. So you can use Street View to see what it's like on a ride you're planning. And something I think is really cool is these little circles. When you click on them, you get to see 360-degree views of places along the Prairie Path. And then what this 360-degree view lets you do is move your cursor around on your screen and see what the world looks like from that spot with the camera that covers all 360 degrees. So this is a little observation deck out in the middle of Lincoln Marsh. So you can, think about places you want to go, maybe take the kids and see what it's like before you even get there. And one last point about Google before we leave that. Google usually does its directions, assuming you're in a car. But if you look up here in the left-hand corner of using Google from a computer, at least, this is the car directions you see by default. But this pink, I've highlighted in pink, the bike icon causes Google to give you directions for a bike. So in this case, I've asked Google to give me directions between, say, like the College Avenue Metro Station and the I Have a Bean coffee shop over on the other side of Wheaton. And I chose these because, it's a pretty straight path to go right along the prairie path. And Google knows that and says, well, hey, you can just bike there in 9 minutes if you wanted to go that spot. So I encourage you to give bike directions on Google a try. And by the way, that works well on phones. I've been showing you computer screens because they fit the screen you're watching tonight, perhaps. But this is showing how you could get from the Wheaton Library, where we all are now sort of virtually at the library, down to the Forest Preserve south of Wheaton. And I'll show you more about that in a second. So here are the bike trails, which is mostly what I'm going to talk about tonight. The prairie path I've mentioned briefly, but here's the map that shows you the entire prairie path system with Wheaton at the center, but you can see the connections east into Maywood and all the cities along the way there. And you can see the connections up into Elgin and down to Aurora with little spurs that go off to Batavia and to Geneva. I was just on the Geneva spur this afternoon, riding and enjoying it very much. And also on this map, you can see a bit that when you get south of Wheaton here, you see St. James Farm and the Herrick Lake Forest Preserve and the Denata Forest Preserve. And we are just super fortunate here in Wheaton to have these great resources near us. And I'll show you more about those right next. So this is a map of a route I took from the Wheaton Public Library, which is up here. You can see this is downtown Wheaton. You can see the train tracks curving through there. This is Naperville Road, and you can see the beginning of the Forest Preserve down here south of Butterfield. And as I click this, you'll see the ride from the physical library, not just the virtual library. There's my bike in front of the library. This was a couple of Wednesdays ago, heading south and then across on Illinois, crossing Roosevelt Road there, and then heading down until I got to Briarcliff and zipping through the subdivision there and crossing Butterfield Road and ending up at Rice Lake. So this is Rice Lake, which is immediately south of Butterfield Road there, and is a beautiful spot to see wildlife and enjoy sunrises and sunsets, as I'll show you. So that was a 4.2 mile ride from the library down through the residential areas to get to the bike trails south of Wheaton. And this is the trail you find down there in the Denata Forest Preserve. This is Rice Lake. And so that picture that I just showed you was taken from here, and the library is up here to the north. And there's all kinds of things that are interesting to see. The equestrian center is there, Naperville Road you cross here, and there's an exercise track, and this connects over into the Herrick Lake Forest Preserve. And I wanted to highlight briefly that you can get there from Herrick Lake or Lease Lane. If you can't bike to this spot, you can get there by car as well and park off of Naperville Road if you like. So here's a map of what it's like to go through the Denata Forest Preserve from that corner on Lease Lane up into you cross under Naperville Road. This was on July 7th. I did this ride, and you can see me riding along the shore of the Rice Lake there, and there's a nice little uphill section there. And then you go from prairie into the woods, and you end up at the Denata Equestrian Center. So that's showing the barn there and the tractor. And then I went down a little further and saw the horses out in the paddock there, enjoying the afternoon. And then after zigging around a bit, I went back and hit the spot where you go underneath Naperville Road. And if you haven't had a chance to try that, it's kind of fun to take your bike underneath Naperville Road there and end up on the west side of Denata. So this is a 2.1 mile ride, which you can do very easily. And even with the stops to see the horses and take the pictures, it only took me 16 minutes to buzz through there. And I wanted to throw in a few, I think, picturesque shots. These are things that I shot not just last Wednesday, but these are over the course of the last several years, mostly sunrises, because I tend to get out there and work out in the morning before the sun comes up. This is a moonrise, I think. So it's an evening ride coming up over Rice Lake from right about that same spot. I thought it was nice to see the moon reflecting in the pool. And then after you cross in from the Denata Forest Preserve, you end up in the Herrick Lake Trails, which again are a wonderful resource from the Forest Preserve District. And there's marshes and things back in there. You'll see very interesting things. And then you get over into Herrick Lake itself. This is all south of Butterfield and let's see, east of Herrick Road. And you can access this from the Prairie Path. If that's one way in, you can access it from Denata, as I mentioned. And also, this is a nice exit from the Wheaton point of view down to points in Naperville. So I go down through Herrick Lake and find my friends that live off of Washington Street down in Naperville as well. So here's a ride very quickly that I did from this is Naperville Road over here. After you come underneath Naperville Road, we'll go around. I took the long way, and this was 6.2 miles to get all the way through Herrick Lake and come all the way across south of Butterfield and end up over here, getting ready to go into St. James. But this has some interesting sights. You might not know there's a horse exercise track left over in there. And that's what it looks like to be a horse coming out of the starting gates and trotting down the track. And this is going around the trails. There's quite a variety of trails there in Herrick Lake. That's Washington we just passed. And there's the golf course you can see. And this day I happened to see a heron out there. It was nice to be able to photograph that. And there's a boat rental there at Herrick Lake. So you can ride your bike and lock it up and go rent a boat if you like. You come out across Herrick Road there on the south side of Butterfield, and then you pop out into St. James Farm if you keep going. And like I said, that's 6.2 miles. So a few other pictures I took over in Herrick Lake. If you do get out there in the mornings, it's beautiful. You get this morning sort of fog across the low-lying areas, and the sun rises and bounces off that fog, and it looks very cool. And then you ride your bike down kind of underneath the clouds. This is just holding up the glasses, or the mirror on my glasses, to block out the sun so you can see the beautiful sight of the sunrise there in the woods. And this is Herrick Lake, and it's another beautiful spot to see, I think. That's where I saw the heron. A quick plug for winter biking. If you have the clothing, just layer up, and you can have some wonderful sights and sounds and see things like the snow on the bushes there in the winter. This is kind of a spring early morning sunrise where the trees hadn't leafed out yet. So all seasons, the trails are open and very interesting. And several people have already mentioned St. James Farm. This is one of the most recent additions to the DuPage County Forest Preserve system. And it's wonderful because the prairie path zigs through the southeast corner here of St. James Farm and connects to all the trails within St. James Farm. I'm not going to show you a video of flying through there, but the red path is about 1.6 miles. And this recently added purple path is another almost a mile. And as you come up the service roads, you can easily build up another couple of miles in St. James Farm. And it's a wonderful place to see more horses and sights. And we're fortunate to have it near us. You can get into that, like I said, from the prairie path or from Mack Road. And just a nice sunset that I took there in St. James Farm, or sunrise, I think that might be. And a quick plug, if you happen to have a headlamp, as I do, and you can get out there early in the morning or after sunset, you can see some nice, so you can see where you're going if you have the headlamp, and you see wildlife. I had an owl come and fly along next to me one time when I was pedaling through there in the early morning. This is just a nice shot of the sunrise coming up through the trees and reflecting off my bike. And this is the south side of Naperville Road, where it was a sunrise behind me, rising in the east. And as I was going up Naperville Road with my shadow and the bike shadow. So almost done. The recommended destinations that I like, and of course you can season this to your taste. Cosley Zoo is a great place to take the kids on bikes, and it's easily reached. Danita Equestrian Center, I showed you the pictures of that. Lincoln Marsh. There's many parks that are reachable by bike in Wheaton. Swimming pools on the north side and the south side are reachable by bike. The restaurants downtown, and of course the train stations. Consider being a bike commuter. I commuted to the train station for years, and it was just a wonderful experience. The French Market is a great place to go. And my favorite vice, after I've been out on the pedaling for a long time, is to stop at the Dairy Queen or Kimmer's, or many places have great ice cream in Wheaton. And after I burn off a few hundred calories pedaling myself around, I love to stop for ice cream. So I'm going to pedal off into the sunset and hand it back to Barry for questions.
Great, thank you so much. So at this point, I will just remind everyone that if you have any questions, go ahead and put those in the Q&A. And we do have a few questions already. Someone is asking, does Wheaton require a bicycle license from the police department to ride in Wheaton?
I can answer that because no, they do not require a license, but I did register one of my bikes with them. And what that does is if the bike should ever get stolen and they happen to recover it, they'll have it registered there. They did that at one of the bike rodeos that we had in years past, but I'm sure you can go to them. Does anyone else have anything to add to that?
I don't think so. Okay, next question is, someone is remembering some pedal pushers and they're wondering if that's still in existence and how to contact them perhaps.
Do you want me to take I'm a member of the Pedal Pushers. It's a group in Wheaton. You have to be 50 and older, so I can do that now. And what you want to do is you go to the Mary Lubko Center, and you have to have a waiver on register with them. If you're a Wheaton resident, it's free to join. And what they do is they ride every Thursday on trail rides. So, but you have to register through the Mary Lubko Center. I don't believe they can do it online. I actually had to go get a paper, fill it out. They want to have paper waivers.
Right, and that I believe it is the Wheaton Park District building at Memorial Park. Is that correct?
Yes, I'm sorry. I forgot to say that it's actually run under the Wheaton Park District. You're correct.
Okay, great. Thank you. And someone else is asking about the bike waiver form that you mentioned and when that's required and if there's a certain period of time that it extends for.
I can answer that. That is required if you want to join us for any of our group rides. Any of the Wheaton Bicycle Advisory Commission group rides, there will be a separate one that we'll have a link for when we do the history ride. And that link will be part of the advertisement for the history ride. And we will share that with the library. We're going to be asking the library to help us advertise it. That is kept on file, and that is, you only have to fill it out once for riding with us. So you don't have to fill out every time you plan to go on a group ride. That is filled out once. We keep that information on file. And mainly the big reason for that waiver, aside from the legal reasons, is an emergency contact. If something happens, then we have a way to contact you. It's also, so we have that on file when we're doing group rides. If we have a group ride coming up, we email everyone who has filled out a waiver and said, hey, just a reminder, a group ride is coming up this Saturday and Laurel's leading it. And Laurel is going to email everyone on this email list by 8 a.m. in case, because it does look like rain and we might need to reschedule. So that way people aren't just showing up to the library wondering where we are.
Sounds great. All right, thank you. Another person asks, can just anyone join those group rides? And if so, how fast is the average speed that you're riding?
So anyone is able to join our group rides. Garen, obviously, once they filled out a waiver. If you are 18 or under, you need to be accompanied by someone 18 or older. So you cannot, and the waiver needs to be signed by your parent or guardian. Anyone is allowed to join us. Our pace, and Laurel and Bob can correct me if I'm wrong, I'd say it's average 10 miles per hour. Does that sound about right?
That's top, right? We tend to go pretty slow because
we're not a fast group.
We also have a sweep. So we have, you're bookmarked between the leader and a sweep.
So yeah, the sweep is the person in the back. So we just had a ride. We all rode to Naperville for brunch, and we, at every crossing or every once in a while, we'll look back. And at one point we stopped because we couldn't see our sweep. She was a little further back. So we're always keeping track. We take a head count. But yeah, we're not, I know if anyone's familiar with some other bike clubs, they have like average miles per hour posted. That's not, we just kind of go based on what the group is doing. If the group is going a little slower, we go a little slower. It's kind of no one's left behind. It's just for being fun. It's not we're not racers. We're not Tour de France.
And I guess the only thing I'd add there, Michelle, is that, if you look at numbers like miles per hour and think about a longer ride where you do things like stop for, crossing busy roads and stop for water and, things like that, all those things tend to bring the number down.
Yeah, that's true.
And yeah, so I mean, our actual numbers might be quite a bit lower than that because we're often stopping for water. And in my case, I stop for ice cream, and that makes my numbers look really, really poor.
Okay, great. Thank you. And just one last reminder, if anyone has any questions, they could go ahead and enter those in the Q&A. But I just was wondering to each of you, how did you get started riding? What led you to start riding bicycles and develop this hobby?
Okay. Okay, I guess I'll just real quick. Well, basically, I've been riding since high school, so it was 1976 when I got my first bike. But the reason I wanted to share with you guys is I lived in LaGrange, and basically when I was 18, I would ride on the prairie path to Wheaton. So now I live in Wheaton, yay! So I love biking in Wheaton, and I've been doing it since 1976.
Great. Yeah, anybody else?
Well, I started, I mean, I biked when I was a kid, but then when I used to live in the city of Chicago and brought my bike down with me, my high school bike, it got stolen. So I bought a new bike and locked it up properly. And I used to bike to work, which in the city is nice and easy to do. And then we moved out to the suburbs, and we had kids, and we got a trailer. And so I always a good day for me would be a day not in the car, especially in the springtime, that I could just bring the kids. I had to wait till they were at least a year old to put them in the trailer, because that's the rule. And so that first year after each of my children was born was hard for me, that I couldn't bike, at least with them. So I kind of found some of these trailers. And the other thing was I would try and go to different places and find different routes. And I found a lot of people in the city helped me, oh, well, here's a shortcut. And so it was nice to find that. And when the city of Wheaton decided to create a bike plan, I was one of the first to volunteer, and found out that then they had created a bike commission, and I had met the current chair at a bike to school program. And so talked to her and ended up joining and now chairing. So yeah, that's kind of been my route to where I am.
I guess the only thing I can add to that, let's see, I'm unmuted. Yeah. I was fortunate to have a job in Warrenville on Butterfield Road and live fairly close to the Prairie Path in Wheaton. And it turned out I could bike, to work from, Wheaton to Warrenville every day. And it was half an hour, 6 miles each way. I had a shower when I got to work, and I could keep clothes there, change the clothes so I could get to work. And even if I was sweaty, I could shower up and then, pedal home later. And I also found that I could listen with one ear to the New York Times or a newspaper or an audiobook. And so I looked at this as a triple win, because I was commuting, I was getting to work, I was getting a workout, and I was getting informed. And boy, that was just I guess I'm an efficiency junkie, right? That just, pushed all my buttons. That was perfect.
Great. Thank you. And it does sound like it has been a great community for you all as well. Well, I don't see any additional questions. So at this point, I will say certainly thank you to you all. You know what? I'm sorry. One more question did pop up here. Someone is asking, riding early or at dusk, are there any risks of animal concerns, for instance, a coyote? And is there something that you carry with you as a deterrent, like a whistle or something?
I just yell a lot is the short answer. So if I see geese, I'll say, hey, geese, get out of my way, geese. Because, I feel like I'm intruding in their space, but yet I'm going to go through, and I don't want to hurt them, and I don't want to surprise them. So no, I don't carry a whistle. I just make a lot of noise. And my biggest worry, I suppose, is a deer or something like that. So if I see one deer, I again will make noise because there may be other deer behind them, and I want to sort of, I'm not going to be there long, and I just I don't want to bother the deer. I just don't want them to go right in front of me. I want them to wait until I'm gone before they go running across.
I have one more thing to add to that, because I used to do a lot of night, evening rides, and we actually encountered a skunk. Now,
Ooh.
That one, we saw it, and we had headlights. We stopped waited for it to cross the prairie path, and then we went on. So that one
Yes.
we don't yell at.
Yeah, that's true. I'm with you there, Lauren. Laurel, excuse me. Yes, yeah, same thing.
And I agree with Bob saying that this is their area. And so like a couple times I've ridden, one time like he's saying with deer, and the deer was really in the middle of the prairie path. So you really just stop at a safe distance back and you wait until they decide they're going to cross. Like same if you would encounter them on a road, you're not going to just, try and sneak by them, because and that one you could maybe hurt the deer. And this one I probably would have gotten hurt on my bike. So it was kind of neat afterwards. It's like, okay, luckily I wasn't in a hurry going anywhere, but it was kind of neat afterwards. Like I got to watch them, and then I got to see like the deer family follow behind them. So as long as you're, being, like you said, you need to be aware. You should not, like the safety video said, don't wear headphones. I'm not sure I even, you want to be able to hear what's going on around you.
Absolutely. Yeah, I wouldn't do music, but I would just listen to the newspaper, so which was my advice. But yeah, yep.
Right. And a couple of you mentioned making sure that you're wearing light clothing and perhaps have good reflectors and lights on your bike as well if you're riding early or late. There's another question here. With the pandemic, there was a bike shortage. Any thoughts about when that may end, as the demand is still high?
I just went into a bike shop recently because unfortunately I need some work done on my bike. And I will tell you what the bike shop owner told me. What's happening is the pandemic is, of course, still very strong in the places where the manufacturing is happening. And so the best way, for what he told me to do, I ended up buying my part myself and finding it because he couldn't find it, was to kind of keep in on their list, and they'll let you know when their particular inventory is better. But has anyone else been into a bike shop recently?
I've heard similar when I was in getting work done on my bike, which I put off during the pandemic because the wait was so long, and I probably shouldn't have, because it's in much better shape now. There's a long wait, and the bike owners or the shop owners don't even know. Like, it's not like they can say, oh yeah, there's a long wait and it'll be here in 2 weeks. It's a long wait, and check back in 2 weeks and we'll let you know. So they don't have, at least the shops I've talked to don't have too much information. I have heard that the inventory of actual bicycles is getting a little better, that more are available now, going to certain shops, whereas before you would go and there was nothing. I know both Midwest Cyclery in downtown Wheaton has advertised that they have added to their inventory, and then also Prairie Path Cycles in corner of County Farm in Geneva. So is that, I'm not sure exactly, Winfield. Sorry, that's in Winfield. They have more bicycles available now too. Not anywhere near what they used to have for inventory, but they do have more.
Okay.
All I'll add is that I heard an analyst say that when it was clear during the beginning of COVID there was going to be a shortage of bikes, the people who make bikes didn't go out and build new factories because they knew the shortage would go away as soon as COVID went away. But in fact, what's happening is the shortage is going away gradually because there was no big push to build new factories. So the factories that we had before COVID have just been running flat out, and we didn't build new factories.
Right. Okay. Well, thank you so much to all of our panelists and the Wheaton Bicycle Advisory Commission for generally giving all of your time and effort to provide this presentation. And thank you to each of our attendees as well. I will send resource links in an email following the presentation, a number of different things that were mentioned tonight and a few other items as well. If you are watching the recording of this program and you would like to receive those resource links, just email me at ce@wheatonlibrary.org. That's CE for community engagement at wheatonlibrary.org, and I'd be happy to send those resource links out to you. And with that, the recording will be available within about a week, and we'll be sending out that link as well. So thank you all for joining us. Thank you to our panelists. Enjoy biking this summer, and we hope to see you soon. Good night.